Good afternoon. Welcome to our latest webinar. Thank you very much for joining. Today's webinar is in December, so as you can imagine, it is focused around the holiday and the festive season. We are not advocates for working over the Christmas period, but sometimes you have gaps where you think, oh, maybe this might be an opportunity to upskill in something. Have a look at a little peek under the covers in the data world. I am co-presenting with my good friend Mayhill, who has worn a spick span new Altus shirt, looking very good. I have a slightly older version of the Altus shirt, but we are both here to present to you today on this. This is a co-presentation. Thanks for joining. In this session, we are really talking about what things that we ourselves have been sort of upskilling ourselves on or using our time for what blogs are out there and podcasts and things to look at. So we wanted to share a little bit of that with you. This is our December edition of our monthly webinar, and there will be times for Q&A at the end if you want to put anything into the chat. I, as Samantha Swain makes me do every month, have to put up this picture of me. I've been in this for a long time. I like to think I'm one of the thought leaders at Altus. And co-presenting with me is Mayhill, who I'll pass on to in a little bit for his section. He's been in this industry a long time as well. First time webinar host. The pressure is on Mayhill. I should have got him to go first. I should have really, but that's okay. I'm warming the seat. He will really take it up a notch with his work on podcasts and in the latter slides. So in terms of our services, the stuff that we're really talking today focuses a lot around the stuff in the delivery space, because when you are in a more delivery focused role in data, you often don't get the head space to be able to look up and see what else is out there. Look at the sky too often. So that's what you sometimes get over this festive period when the kids have opened their presents and they're out playing, when you're at the beach and you've got too much sun and you go back into the house. The delivery people, this is often the time for them to be able to do a little bit of playing around with some things. So in this one, this is around blogs and some of the code bases out there that you might want to have a look at. First, shameless plug. We obviously do these series of webinars. So, you could go back and listen to some of our greatest hits, as it were. They're up on the website here. We'll share the link afterwards in the recording if you wanted to see it. But there's a series of our recorded webinars from across the year on some great topics that you can come and listen to, watch the videos for, and upskill yourself on particular topics, which we have at the top to be able to quickly navigate to webinars, sort of smaller version of podcasts that you may find interesting. Also, this is a great time to upskill yourself in some of the latest goings on in technology spaces. For example, and this is only a very short list just to give you an idea, the Azure Fabric solution has been deployed into general release just a couple of weeks ago. So if you've heard about Fabric across this year, it's been heavily marketed and conversed about. It is now out in general release. Customers, you can use this now. This is a good time to actually see what is actually in that general release compared to the beta versions beforehand. Also, Talend is stopping the free version of their data engineering tool at the end of January. Some of you who have been using the free version may not have known that. They've only just announced it. And so that will have some impacts as well, of course. So these are the sort of things that might be good to research a little bit about your tooling and see what the latest things. A lot of these announcements happen just before Christmas. It might be the time to talk about ChatGPT and have a little bit of a look at it. ChatGPT is something that really wasn't around this time last year. Well, it was starting to, but the real conversation, I said that a bit weird, I'm sorry. The conversation about that was a weird way to say slowly because it is a conversation. Started about this time, but it really started to ramp up mid this year. So if you go to the ChatGPT website, you'll now notice if you go on there, there's there's a more of an emphasis around the API stuff that may not have been there a few months ago when you first went on there. It was really around the Chat GPT side. In the API section, which you may now go on to and have a look at, you'll see that there's the ability to build API assistance across a number of different areas. These are APIs that are very quick to easily generate your own usage of and be able to tailor it to your own data needs. Something like Vision allows you to process some of your images that you may have. So over the last bunch of years, you may have actually moved to the cloud. You may be storing some of your big data type things like image files. You may have, if you're in retail, you might have pictures of from your cameras of where people are in the stores. You may have all sorts of different images that you have stored away. You can now use ChatGPT to target some of those and ask questions. You may want to say, look, how many times has someone in a high vision shirt come into my workplace so that I can count at what times of day does that happen? And you can actually process your own images that you may have stored away. This is a valuable time to be able to try this and then be able to expose to your business some of the value and be able to talk about some of the new things that you can do with the data that you've data engineered over the last couple of years. So in that Vision API, it goes away and it allows you to connect to those, take the models to against your images and ask you questions around it. It's pretty powerful stuff. And when you do it, it allows you to, it gives you a little bit of a code check to be able to say, where do you want to load those data, those images from? What is in this image, the question that you're going to ask of the image that ChatGPT is then going to query around. So it's pretty easy to actually use. It's a good time to take some of your images. I'd use your own images outside of your workplace, put them onto something local, and then try this API against those rather than, of course, trying them against your workplace. On the ChatGPT tab, it has even it's built up, of course, as the new tools come out, they adapt and grow, of course. So remember to try asking some of the questions for this space as well. You know, in this case, for this webinar, Mayhill and I were a little late to fully getting all of our blogs and podcasts. So I actually typed in what's the most popular data blogs out there. I cheated. I used my own podcast webinar to drive my use of ChatGPT to get the answer. It came back, told me from when it was based on the free version of ChatGPT, and pulled out a bunch of different blogs, several of which I actually read on a regular basis. All of these I have validated, and all are very good. These will be available in the recording if you want to start to look at some of them. The top one, Towards Data Science, I looked at, and it's got a range of different great things in here. A lot of them are particularly, quite detailed. How to add one line to SQL, optimize your BigQuery tables. A lot of them is, benchmarking and understanding where others are on their journey. These are great blogs out there to give a sense of where you are and to find different information. I've then also internally at Altus, Gokul pushed out recently the designer from Microsoft, the image creator. We've been playing with that. This is a cool thing to try at the moment. It gives you an idea of where some of these generative AI tools are at. And it's quite a fun little way. Engage with your kids around it. It's a cool way of seeing the limitations of some of these things. You put in a description. So in my case, I put in, what does a data engineer look like? Somehow it decided that a data engineer mostly wears glasses, very professionally dressed, and somehow has these weird logos all around their head. That symbolizes the data engineer, apparently. A hard hat and a light bulb. It's nice. But these are very good ways of connecting maybe with your kids, but also trialing things and seeing what different images you can create, see where these could be used, practically where these might be useful in your own environment. Then also a little plug for one of the side things that Altus founded many years ago, no longer part of Altus, but a fundamental part that Altus started was Data for Good. On the Data for Good website, there are some publicly available data sets across a wealth of different areas. These are ones that are out there for the public. You can use to actually validate different data and look at some of the tangential things to your business to see if these are maybe something to bring into your business or just of interest sake. One of these was around the observation data, Earth observation data. The previous link connects you to it. You then come onto here. It takes you to their website. You can then find data within there, easy to access, easy to use, and it enriches your data that you are already using. Another thing we've recently did, Mayhill and I, we went up to the university, AUT, and we saw what some of the new generation, the next generation, are thinking about. One of them had a AI built robot that gives recipes. You can save your mother's recipes into the bot. It then goes and tells you what food. If you talk to it in the morning, it can engage and tell you what food, what ingredients you need for a particular thing. It then allows you to then build up a planner of your weekly meals based on your mum's recipe. Another one was a communication device for kids who have neurodiversities and anxiety issues, and taking it real information and providing it to them in a communication device. So it's really cool to see what the next generation is doing. And some of the universities over summer have these open days like Mayhill and I went to. Now over to my good friend Mayhill. Mayhill, I will bing for you.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks everyone for joining the webinar. So I'm going to talk about podcasts. For those people that may not listen to podcasts on a regular basis, I thought I'd just give a bit of a overview of some benefits that for listening for podcasts. Firstly, convenience and accessibility. Podcasts are basically accessible anytime. You basically go onto Spotify or Apple Music and download the content or consume the content in an easy way, whether you're commuting or exercising, doing household chores, etc. You can easily tune in. Moves on to so that takes me to multitasking. So they allow you to sort of multitask effectively as well. When you're listening to podcasts, you can absorb the information and enjoy a story while engaged in other activities, maximizing your time and productivity. Podcasts have really good diverse content, so they cover a range of topics. You pretty much find a podcast on most topics these days, however niche they are. Whatever your interests are, there's likely a podcast that caters to your preferences. And you can basically find content that aligns with your needs and passions. A lot of podcasts out there now have expert insights and interviews. Plenty of leaders in the industry do podcasts these days, professionals, etc. Gives you valuable insights to their experiences and their perspectives, and also keeps you informed about industry trends. They also allow you to just do continuous learning, which is sort of what the webinar is about: personal growth, motivation, ongoing education, essentially. You can stay updated with the latest developments in your field, learn new skills and deepen your understanding of different topics. And a last sort of benefit I've got here is they're cost effective. Most podcasts are actually free. So it's a very cost effective way of staying informed and entertained. Yeah, basically all walks of life have access to podcasts out there. So and all have pretty high quality content too. Yeah, I guess I've got a couple of examples of podcasts that I've found that I like to sort of listen to every now and then. Analytics Power Hour is a good one. So it's about 3 different data analysts that host the podcast. They've got over about 200 episodes at the moment. They're sort of their discussions are based around what you'd expect to talk about with people at sort of conferences, etc., in the lobby bars. And all the hosts are actually work actively in the data industry as well. So they share their thoughts, experiences, questions, etc., both based on the different topics that they talk about each episode. For example, some of the topics might be analytics mentors, so finding mentors within the analytics space. There's one podcast about estimating effort for analytics projects, and they talk about also one podcast is about modern data culture stack as well. So very wide range of topics. Next one there, Alex. Data Skeptic. So this was launched back in 2014. Got hundreds of interviews and a very, very popular podcast in the industry. They're basically widely recognized as the authoritative source on data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and similar topics. Fun fact, actually, their Data Skeptic is a boutique consulting firm as well, which kind of relates to us, I guess, in Altus. The host is personally involved in different projects that their team takes on as well. So, there's a lot of industry knowledge in there in these podcasts as well, which is great. And if you've got specific sort of projects or tasks that you need to kind of get some advice about or anything. Next one there, Alex. Last one I've got here is a machine learning podcast called Gradient Descent. Takes you sort of behind the scenes of how industry leaders are putting deep learning models into production. Some of the people they talk to work at NVIDIA, Meta, Google, etc. So big data, big companies, very, very interesting stuff that the big companies are doing. That's what I've got there, Alex. I'll pass it back to you.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you, Mehul. That was good. I do like a good podcast as well. Mine usually tend to be a bit more sports related. American football, especially ones around my fantasy team, which is doing very well, except Mehul beat me 2 weeks ago, even though he has not updated his team in many weeks. So
I was going to mention that.
Man, it was disappointing. His data and analytic work was far better than mine in the predictive space. Let me just have a look. We've got a few questions coming through. Or statements coming through in the chat. Oh, I'm not quite even sure what this one is. From Andy Sebastian, and his male and why. Oh, okay. People have been playing with the tools at the same time. That's great. I'm glad people are engaging with those things. If there's any questions that anyone has, put them into the Q&A. But this recording will be made available by Samantha Swain, our good friend. And Mehul, thank you very much for your first webinar. Samantha Swain, thank you very much for your year's effort in producing these webinars as well. Take a bow. I won't put you on camera. I told her beforehand that I might, and she's been nervous. But thank you very much, Samantha Swain, for your work. Mehul, thank you very much for your time on this one, and we'll talk to you in the new year. Thanks, guys. Okay, great. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
So have a great rest of your day. Cheers.